Hi, I'm Meg Messmer. I am a multi-hyphenate actor, writer, producer, fill in the blank, I guess. They keep coming as I make more. I started as an actor. I wanted to be an actor in like 5th grade, I guess. And then high school, I started pursuing it. And then college, I actually went to school for a BFA in theater. And then after that, I moved right away to New York City, where I spent about 4 years, as I call it, getting my master's in the business, because a lot of times in school and definitely in theater, they don't teach you the actual business side of making it as an actor. And so I learned a lot in New York City. And actually,
what do you call business side, if I may ask? What is the business side?
Sure. Well, you know, when you're in theater and you're learning technique and actually how to perform on stage and how to find those emotions and stuff. And the business side is actually, where do I get jobs? I mean, you go on auditions, you've heard the word auditions, but where do you find them? How do you submit? How do you contact casting directors? How do you contact agents? How do you stay relevant to these people once you actually sign on to an agency? How can you, I mean, you have some of these questions for me, but how do you stay relevant when you aren't doing anything? Mm-hmm. And how do you make a business for yourself?
Okay, and we'll come back to that, but just to answer this main question, when you're an actor, where do you find out all these things? How do you get auditions? Where is it? Is there any newspapers or websites that you need to be on?
Absolutely. When I started, it was a little different, but there's books that are out there that have all the when you're an actor first starting out, you should read a book or two about how to get started. But you definitely need to be on what is called Actors Access, which on the agency side is called Breakdown Services. There are other commercial services that you need to be on, but those differ no matter where you are in the country. So in LA, they have LA Casting. Here it's Casting Networks, which is pretty much universal. And then they have other ones, like in LA, they have Casting Frontier. So you have to be on these certain websites so that people can submit you for the jobs. And that's where those studios go to, put a casting out. So I took 1 semester at NYU right before I graduated. And so I learned a little bit there about what to do once I got there. And then when I got there, I was just flailing around, what am I doing? So I submitted myself every single day to, no matter what it was, anything I thought I'd be right for, because you have to build a reel. You have to build, and a reel is something where, now you have to have a reel. I mean,
can you explain what a reel is?
Yeah, a reel is footage. It's you on screen. When you do a reel for yourself, you really shouldn't have any footage except you, even if you're with a major star. I mean, maybe sometimes if you have a major star in it, you can show that you were with them, but really the casting director watches that to see how you are on screen. So it's very, very important.
Hey guys, I'm Lisa. I'm a stage manager. Both teams ready?
Yeah!
Hey, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Frank did great.
Frank?
Yeah, Dee passed out.
Of course she did. She's so embarrassing.
Right.
Ethan, Belinda, Henry, come out with your hands up.
Is it hard to make a reel?
Well, you should probably have a reel that is based on things you were in. So that's hard, meaning once you're establishing yourself as an actor and getting that footage. But there are companies, and I know the owners of many of them, that make reels. They write scenes for you with roles that you might be right for, and you can pay to, they film it, they edit it, and all of a sudden you have footage right there for you. So that's not hard, but it costs money.
Okay, so I suppose as well that when you start in this business, acting in short films could help, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. That's all I did when I started. That's all I did when I started was short films. Definitely, you know, most of the time unpaid when you're first starting out. Maybe you might get $100 a day or $125 a day. But very rarely will you get paid as you're sort of starting out getting credits and things like that. Commercials are also a really good place to start, because they don't take a lot of acting. Like, you just need to show up as yourself, and it is a very technical acting side of it, right? Like knowing, you know, when you're selling something, how to show that on camera. And when you get on set, there's so many technical directions from the director and from the cinematographer and the producer. Everyone's telling you something. So that's a juggle, but one commercial class in that, and then you should be able to go and get used to auditioning. And commercials happen so much that it's good to get used to auditioning, because that's really our job, isn't it, as actors, is to audition, because 95% of the time, 98% of the time, you're not going to book it. But you should be used to auditioning so that you can really hone your craft and be ready when it is your turn.
Are auditions scary?
When I first started, I was, I don't, it was funny because I was so ready, but then I got there and I was like, why do I have all these nerves? It's crazy. Yes. So I think they can be scary as you first start out, but oh my gosh, when you start to get really good at auditioning and know that it's not about getting the role, it's actually, like, for me, it's more important to book the office. And what that means is the casting director sees you, says, oh, wow, this person is interesting. This person is good. This person has done their homework. They keep bringing you back. And like I said, it's 98%. So when you audition, you should be focused on doing a really good job at that, so that casting director brings you back and keeps bringing you back, so that when it's, again, your turn, like, you're booking that role because they love you. They love you. They tell the director they love you, you know? So
I suppose that in New York you did commercials, short films, feature films.
I did. So in New York, mostly I did theater.
Okay.
I did a little bit of commercials and short films.
Okay.
I produced when I couldn't get on stage. Maybe we'll talk about.
Yeah. Please talk about it. So what happened there? What happened? You couldn't get on stage?
I couldn't book anything, and you know, my mom was like, "You need to just get on stage," you know. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to produce my own play." And I was working at a off-Broadway theater at the time, just in development there. And I met a playwright and I was like, hey, will you write me a play? And so I can star in it, you know, because I wanted to get on stage. So he did, and he had his friends help write him, and it was really fun. And basically we donated all of our proceeds to charity, but we found the money. We put this play up for 2 weeks, and I starred in it. And it was fantastic. Like, for me, and this sort of launched my career as a multi-hyphenate person who was like, what I learned, I didn't even know that I was producing it. I just wanted to get on stage. So I did it, and I did all the steps. Come to find out, it was producing, and I was good at it. And so I was like, yeah, I could do this. I could produce things that I can be in. And, you know, that's my message to everyone these days, is basically make what do you, if you're not working, if you're not, like, to keep yourself busy, or to just fuel your own fire in terms of what you are, because you're a unique actor, like, no matter what you do, write that role for yourself. Or I didn't actually at first write my own pieces. I would find really good writers, and I would say, do you have anything that I can read that I could star in? And then I would produce it. So I did that several times. I produced that play in New York. And then shortly after that, I moved to Los Angeles. And then it was, Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask you that actually, if you want to be an actor in America, well, actually in the rest of the world as well, do you have to move to LA?
So, gosh, before COVID, I probably may have answered differently. I don't know anymore. I used to think that I had to be in New York or LA. I had when I was I also worked in management in Los Angeles. I worked as a manager, and so I actually managed actors and writers and directors. And I had several British actors. I had German actors, all trying because they were big over in Germany or Britain, but like then they came to the US and no one knew who they were. And they were like, why am I not getting these auditions? I was like, you welcome to the US. Like, you're in the hub. This is it. Like, everyone here is an actor. So I don't know anymore. I personally, I moved to Atlanta from Los Angeles. So I was in LA for 8 years, before that New York, and now I'm in Atlanta. I've been loving it here. We shoot more than LA is shooting right now, but because of COVID too, tapes, so self-taping used to be a little bit more of a faux pas in Los Angeles, but now everyone is doing self-tapes. Like, and it's more convenient almost for everyone. And so you could be an actor in the middle of America or somewhere else and still submit a tape and still be seen for that role and possibly book that role. And I think that's really, really exciting. I think we're in a super exciting time for people that, Los Angeles is really expensive. Mm-hmm. It's not conducive to a creative atmosphere, quite honestly. I mean, it's a great hustle town. I learned a lot about hustling, but in terms of my creativity, I was always in traffic somewhere, stuck. Like, I took 3 to 4 hours of my day just traveling. And so, when I moved to Atlanta, I was able to have space enough to write an entire series that I produced recently. I've just produced several short films with friends. I have other shows that I'm developing. So my long-winded answer to that is, I don't think so.
Well, that's reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you explain roughly, if you want to be an actor, well, I suppose the theater is the root, the base to write to. Is it not? Is it not the same kind of acting?
That's what I thought. That's what I always thought. I don't know if I believe that anymore, because they are such a different muscle. Film and TV and theater and film and television are a very different muscle. And so, a lot of, I was a trained theater actor. And yet when I would go out for these TV auditions, people were like, whoa, you're too big. You're too, like, bring it down, And so I think that people naturally lean towards one or the other. It's been a while since I've done theater. I miss doing theater a lot. I think it is like such a, like, it's invigorating to do theater because it's live and there's nowhere to hide. You can't do another take.
But it's also the connection with the audience that is just right there, and they react straight away.
Yep. Yes, you're so right. You can feel that energy. With TV and film, you also can't hide because the camera is sometimes right here. But the thing is like, it's so small. It's so small. And so I think some people like really are better on camera sometimes than they are in theater, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about your producing work as well, but just as an actor, what would you say is the best habit or attitude that you need to have? I've
always been a very motivated and also very determined person. I think it is, I hate to say this, I hate to say this, but it is a hard business, meaning you get a lot of no's, and it can be it pulls a lot of people out of the business to not be able to, because you don't know sometimes, like, I have a couple friends that are in like this mid 40s range, and you know, their agents have literally told them there's going to be a weird time where you're not going to book any work, you know? And I think it's interesting. Like there's humps where you might book a lot and then you might book nothing, or you might have a long spell where you book nothing and you're like, I shouldn't even be in this business. And then all of a sudden you reach a certain age where like everything's sort of connecting and you book a big role, maybe your biggest role. I think tenacity is a really good word for it, just to be, you know, just to know that you're in it for the long game. If you are going to do this business, that you're in it for the long game, and you should love what you do enough to keep doing it. Stay positive. Find what you love about it, and then keep doing that. Meaning, like, if you like being in a classroom among your peers, which you should be in a classroom anyway, even if it's private coaching or with your peers, to have a community that you can really rely on, that's important. And I mean, for me, you know, I didn't want to have those lulls. So I didn't want to waitress and be an actor, like be a waiter and an actor. So I was like, I'm going to get jobs in this business and see how figure it all out. And so I started producing short films, and then little sketches, and then documentaries. And I started working in production. I started working in management. I was just so curious about how this whole business runs. So I like to keep me busy. I make my own stuff, and then I also get to act in it.
How do you learn to be a producer? I think it's a baptism of fire, isn't it? You just, yeah, is it?
That's exactly what I was going to say is, I mean, I told you that my first time producing, I really had no idea I was doing it. I just knew that we wanted to get this play up, and I was like, well, how do I do that? Oh, I got to find a theater. Oh, I got to do this. Okay, I got to find a director. Oh, I got to find, you know, we have to find space to do rehearsal. Like, and so, yes, I think you learn producing by doing it. Every time you do it, you're going to learn something new. When I went to Los Angeles was the first time I said I didn't want to be a waiter. I wanted to be in it. So I started interning, and I interned at a reality producer's office, a financing company, and a studio. So I was able to see what it was like behind the scenes. And then I got into production for television as an assistant, and was seeing the budgets go across. And I was like, what is this? You know, I still didn't know, because I didn't go to film school. So I ended up going back to the UCLA professional producers program for about 3 months, night school, and then just learned all the different things I could really do. And it's endless. It's almost endless. Like, the people ask, like, oh, what does a producer do? And I'm like, well, what kind? Which kind? Like, there are so many different types of producing and producers that you really have to find the part that you really love. For me, I like the on the ground producer that is sort of the start to finish, in the development stages. I find the story, I develop the story, and make the story in production, and then follow it all the way to the end. But within that, there's executive producers financing it. There's executive producers that just have their name in there. There's line producers. There's, you know, production manager. I mean, there's so many different aspects of, like, when I had a writer's room recently, and the girls that helped me develop the story all got co-producer credits. So yeah, there's all different kinds of it, but I guess my definition is, yeah, you just make things happen. That's a producer. You make it happen.
Yeah. From actor to actor producer, then how did you go to creative coach? Can you tell us?
That was actually very recent. So I run a women's industry group here in Atlanta that I started because when I moved from Los Angeles, I realized, like, a lot of people here didn't know each other. And I was like, this is insane. This is a small community. We should all know each other. And being a manager and a producer, I like putting people together. So I was running this group, and I was like, man, then COVID hit, and And my show was supposed to be going, and we shut down 4 days before rolling. And so I got into this depression where I was like, I don't know, I'm not doing anything. I don't even know if I want to do this business anymore. Like I got into this very big depression of kind of what I was talking about earlier. Maybe I don't even want to act anymore and be in this industry. And so it took me a couple of weeks where I was just gardening and cooking. And then it was the first time in my adult life I said, like, well, are there parts of me that I'm not giving yet, to the world? And I realized, like, I am a very motivating person, like by nature, just as a friend. And I really like running the group that I run here. And I think that it's something that I do very naturally, that I was like, man, I think I want to try this. And so that it really was recent that I started to jump into that. And it feels very good. So I'm trying it. Honestly, so my husband said the nicest thing to me after, I think when I was having my second, he said, well, honey, you were more successful the year after our first baby than you had ever been in your whole career. And I was like, wow, that's really inspiring, that even though I had an infant, you know what it was? It was focus. That's what happened. So I had to go back. I was doing a lot of other things. Like I was doing improv, which is improvisation, performing. I was doing like this and that in all these little things that I was like, I can't afford to do you anymore. Like time-wise, I can't afford to do this anymore. What do I really want with my life? I want to produce meaningful things for the world, like that move the needle, and I want to like be involved in them as a producer and actor. I was like, great. Everything else, focus on this. And that was all I had time for. And that's what I started doing. So.
I'd like to ask you one more question. According to you, what are the pitfalls that actors, producers should avoid or be careful of?
I'm kind of talking to myself on this one. I've moved around a lot, and that I think has been a little tough maybe on my career. I often give the advice now that you should, because when you're acting and producing in this business, you like to develop a tribe. You like to develop a community of people, and then you sort of rise up with these people. Like you'll produce a short film of someone that you think is very talented, and then that person grows, and then you're producing their feature, and then you just, and so for me, I want that tribe. I like working with people I like working with. And so moving around a lot has been a little bit of a challenge in terms of continuing to grow up with the people around me. So I would say a pitfall might be, that like choose to be in a city or a place that you really want to be in, and grow with the people around you. And then you'll be, dare I say, balanced in that you love your life. Like you love, your life. I'll just say that. And then you love what you're doing in your career. And that together is like, there's no better way to have success, I think.
Thank you so much, Meg. Yeah, that's
You're
perfect.
so welcome.
Oh, well.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming and join us. Thank you so much.